good. That's very good to know. I'm very motivated here as well, even as I'm talking to you. Apart from the Leap organisation, I know you've been involved in many other roles. You give presentations on leadership programs. You also mentor black school kids. You're very passionate about race equalities, amongst other things that you do. What gives you this drive? I know you've kind of mentioned little bits of that, but what gives you the drive to do all of this? And I was also going to say, and is this what you've always wanted to do, which you've kind of answered?
Yeah, well, it's definitely not always what I wanted to do, but what gives me the drive to do it? Because it's the right thing for me to do. I'm helping people who are no different than I was. And growing up, I would have loved to have had an organisation like this to turn to, people like myself and my colleagues to turn to. I didn't. My mother worked really hard, as many mothers do, doing 2-3 jobs to put a roof over our heads and put food on the table. But as I was growing up, because my father wasn't around at the time, as I was growing up, I felt my mother couldn't teach me how to be a man. So what I did is I looked to the older boys. But there was a problem with that, because very often the older boys didn't have a man in their lives either. So what we all were caricatures of masculinity. It was about how much money we had, but it didn't matter how we got it. It was about wearing fancy clothes. It was about wearing fancy jewellery. It was about sleeping with as many women as we could without actually recognising there was another human being involved. And I was very much part of that growing up. But even when I was doing some of the things I was doing, I kind of recognised that if my father was around, I wouldn't have been doing that. If my father had been there when I was growing up, I wouldn't have been doing that. And so I always promised myself that if I was ever fortunate enough to be a father, that I would play a full role in my children's life. And even though I didn't expect that would take place, or even though I didn't expect that I would end up doing this for a living, I always knew and I always wanted to do something around supporting people who were like I was. And so, yeah, I'm just very fortunate. I consider myself very, very fortunate to be doing something that I love doing. It's been fantastic for me. It's very difficult, it's very challenging. That challenge exists to this very day. Getting funding to continue our work is incredibly difficult. We get no support from the government or from the mayoralty. And in fact, we only exist because of the results of generosity of private companies. Some private companies have been very generous to us. Some trusts and foundations are being generous to us. But it's not enough. And so it is very challenging. But it's very important work. And I love doing it. And hopefully I'll be doing it for a long time to come.
That's good, that's good. That's what I was going to ask next. What's next for you? What's the vision?
The vision is, I mean, we're doing a lot more work in schools. And we are currently running a project that's been sponsored by HSBC to help 11,000 children in London over the next 3 years, teaching them employability skills. And our hope is, the vision is to deliver on that and then to take what we've learned, and I'd love to be doing that nationwide. You know, there are so many children in this country who are not being taught some quite basic things that if they knew would give them a much better chance of succeeding in life. And they're not being taught that just because of the schools they go to.
Yes.
Whereas if their parents were able to afford to send them to an independent school, or one of the better schools, then they'd be getting all of these things. And I think it's not right that so many people suffer through no fault of their own just because their parents don't have the money. And so I'd love to be a part, you know, of taking what we're doing and taking it nationwide, you know, to other cities in the country. And just to be here, doing the work we're doing, sharing what we do with others, supporting others, organisations, yeah, just to continue to be part of the solution and be an even bigger part of the solution than we are now. That's the vision.
That's good. That's a fantastic vision. I must say thank you so much for your time. I've learned quite a lot here. Very much appreciated. We'll humbly love to encourage you to continue what you're doing.
Thank you.
It's amazing the impact you've left on kids and this impact you're still leaving on them. It's amazing, and as I said, it's they can never be forgotten. Youths can never forget what it is that you're doing for them. So we appreciate it and we're very proud of you. And on behalf of Ten2Teens Magazine, thank you very much and God bless.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.